Hello and welcome to Slightly Nostalgic. My name is Griff, and we have watched Firefly episode 11, Trash. It's not a trash it's good. It's a good episode, but it's called Trash. This is the one where they go with Saffron to rob the rich guy in the floating city, and they're gonna take his special historic laser prototype or something like that. And yeah, that's kind of the whole plot of this episode, and it's one that I forget a lot. It's a forgettable episode, but not a bad episode. It's really good. It's a lot better than I remember, actually. There were a whole lot of little moments that I love. There's a lot of things that I forgot were in this episode, and a lot of things that I had never noticed before. So I've got a lot to talk about here. So first we have the weirdest opening scene in the whole show. Just Mal sitting in the desert. He's naked. We zoom in. He goes, "Huh, that went well." Predictable line, but still quite strange. Then of course we go back to when he's dealing with his friend Monty, and they've got a business deal or whatever, and then Monty's like, "Here's my new wife," and it's Saffron. I think this surprised me the first time. I don't think I saw that coming at all. But I love this scene when Saffron and Mal are fighting, and Monty's just like, "What is going on here?" And he just gets mad. He just keeps yelling at everybody. He's like, "Bridget! Mal, stop that! Bridget!" He's just like he's disappointed in his two kids who are fighting, except it's his war buddy and his new wife, and he doesn't know why they're at each other's throats. It's a great scene. We also get an interesting bit of information that I never noticed before. He says that their last dealing with Saffron, when she tried to kill them all and steal the ship, was about a half a year back, he says. So I think that's the first time we've gotten a very clear timeline on how far apart, like how much time is passing in between episodes. And we also have to keep in mind that Mal and Wash were pretty messed up after the previous episode, and they seem fine now. So it's been a while, like maybe at least a few weeks. I don't know. I've never been tortured. I don't know how long it takes to recover from that, but you know, it's been a little while. There's a lot to talk about with the next scene where Mal and Inara are talking business, I guess, in her shuttle, and she offers him tea, and it's really funny when Mal's just like, "You're using your wiles, your feminine wiles." It's because he's he's hypersensitive to anything that might be seductive or anything like that, because he's just been dealing with Saffron. And then of course Inara's all confused. It's funny. But then they fight, and I'm just reminded again, I don't know if I said this before, but I am totally not on board with this Mal and Inara relationship. I guess I anti-ship them. They would be so bad for each other. They would have the most toxic relationship. It would be terrible. It should not happen. But anyway, the whole argument is about Inara being upset that they're only going to these backwater planets lately. She can't find any respectable clients or anything like that. And that seems a little weird to me because, like, isn't that just their normal thing? Like, first of all, they're outlaws. Second of all, they're harboring really highly wanted fugitives. And they do the kind of work that you find on the Outer Rim. That's their whole thing. They like to stay out there. They hate going to core planets. So, I mean, she knew that. She's known that the whole time. Why is she making an issue of it now? And why is she even there? We still don't really know. She does say there are plenty of worlds where they can both work, which I guess we're supposed to just believe is true, but anytime they've gone to any kind of semi-core planet or heavily populated place at all, they've had horrible trouble. But they have horrible trouble everywhere, I guess, so I don't know. Then, of course, we get the big reveal that Saffron is on the ship. Mal trusted her after all, kind of, enough to bring her on the ship, which just... why? This is 2 episodes in a row now where Mal is making ridiculous decisions after we've been shown at how great of a decision maker he is and how he's this great leader and he's so smart. Why would he do this? Why would he bring Saffron back on the ship? It would make a little bit more sense if he made that decision after the argument with Inara, where she's insulting his lifestyle, saying he's a petty criminal that hasn't been looking for serious work. It would make a little bit more sense if he was feeling that way going into his dealings with Saffron. He's like, okay, well, I'll show her. We'll take some serious work. But no, he had already decided to bring her on board. So Why? But I love how the rest of the crew reacts to this when he tells them and she's suddenly there. Like, Wash is just like, how'd she get on the ship? We're in space. I don't recall pulling over. It's like most shows would just skip over that scene of like them explaining this weird thing that happened. They would just leave you to assume that a conversation happened off screen where he explained what was going on. But this show's not most shows. This show shows you the rest of the crew just being like, what's going on here? How did this happen? And all throughout this scene, you can see Jewel State, who plays Kaylee, just cracking up, like obviously breaking character. She's obviously not supposed to be laughing in the scene because it just seems weird in the moment. Like you can tell she's just reacting to Alan Tudyk's performance because he's just spazzing out so much and she just keeps giggling about it and it's great. Also, Zoe punches Saffron in the face. Who doesn't love that? So there's a bit of a B plot going on with Simon and River and Jane. It seems mostly there just so Simon and River have something to do in this episode. I didn't notice before that they really don't have a very big part in this show. They have a huge part in the movie, of course, but their storyline takes a back seat for this whole all of these episodes. But anyway, some things I noticed for the first time here are that River is way more lucid now. I like that it had to be on purpose. They're showing her more in control, more clear about her thoughts, able to communicate more clearly. And she's just saying, and she's taunting Jane. She's like, Jane is a girl's name. It's a great scene. He's like, I got man parts. It's fantastic. And we also see that Simon is paying attention to her still. He believes her when she says that Jane is afraid that they'll know. And he realizes that Jane tried to sell them out back on Ariel. And I think this supports my theory that Simon is on board with the idea that River is psychic. Also, Simon is dressing way differently. He's starting to fit in a little bit more with the crew. He's wearing just like a normal fleece jacket kind of thing. He doesn't have his fancy three-piece suit, all of that going on anymore. Alright, skipping way ahead to some interesting little moments later on when they're reprogramming the trash bin. Kaylee and Jane are crawling around out there, and at one point Zoe is out there. There's monitors on the trash bin, and the monitors are running Windows XP. It's great. There's I think it was supposed to have some kind of fancy Firefly universe thing as a screensaver or a video or something, and instead there's just like an error message or something up there. It's just Windows XP, which was the operating system at the time. So, Windows XP, it was a pretty good operating system. So good, they're still using it way in the future to take care of their trash, I guess. There's a moment I really like after they get caught by the guy who owns the place, and Mal, he just tells them they're there to steal the laser, and he goes, I appreciate your honesty. Not, a lot. And Mal's just like, no, yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's understandable. Speaking of the rich guy, this is the first time we've seen a guy not get duped by Saffron. Like, even our main characters are obviously just falling right into her plot every time. This is the first time someone's actually using their brain around her. As soon as he sees her, he uses his ring thing to call for help because he knows she's not here for good reasons. And I guess he was just pretending for the rest of the time. I don't really know. I guess he must have been stalling by promising them a reward and all of that and going through that whole charade, so it makes sense. It lines up. Another line delivery I love is, I hate to bring up our imminent arrest during your crazy time, but we gotta move. It's one that I quote all the time. Nobody ever knows what I'm talking about. So at the end, it's cool that Inara gets to save the day. It turns out she was in on the plan the whole time. Normally, I'm really annoyed when shows do this, when they create a plot twist that feels totally artificial because the only reason we didn't see it coming is that we didn't know anything that the characters knew because of things that happened off screen. So I don't like when that happens, but I can forgive it this time because it's a cool ending. Some other things to note right at the end here, they do get to keep the cargo, but we're not quite sure how they're gonna fence it. Saffron apparently had contacts, but I don't think they're going to be able to use those. And they mentioned something about fencing it. And I don't think the show didn't get to go on long enough for them to show exactly what happens with this. I'm going to assume it was going to get stolen from them at some point, because the kind of money they were talking about they would get from this, like you'd be able to get your own private island, your own private floating city or whatever. I can't see the show going that route. I don't think like halfway through the first season they were planning to be like, and then they got super rich. Like, I don't think that would happen. And let's go ahead and end on a nitpick. When they show Mal at the end, you see his naked torso, and he does not have the scar from when he got stabbed by Crow's knife when he threw it. He does have it in the movie, so unless he got an identical injury between now and the movie, I think this is just a mistake that they overlooked. But that's all I've got for this episode. The next one is The Message, so be sure to watch that if you're following along with me. But thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Okay, bye.